Your brother gave this to me. Adrian Moretti stopped breathing. The old leather collar sat between them on Elena Brooks's counter, worn at the edges and stained from years of use. Adrian knew it instantly. Matteo had been wearing it the last time Adrian saw him alive. His eyes lifted slowly toward Elena. You're saying my brother gave you that? Elena frowned. Yes. When? I don't know. Maybe 2 years ago. Adrian's expression hardened. Matteo had been dead for 11 months. Elena noticed the change in his face. Did I say something wrong? Adrian picked up the collar. On the inside was a tiny silver plate. His brother's initials. Where did you get this? Elena folded her arms. You walked into my shop 5 minutes before closing, scared half my employees, and now you're interrogating me about an old dog collar. I asked a question, and I answered it. For several seconds, neither moved. Then a massive Cane Corso lying near the doorway suddenly stood. Bruno. He stared at Adrian, then at Elena. Then he walked directly to her and pressed his enormous head against her hip. Adrian's jaw tightened. Bruno. The dog ignored him. Elena looked down. Apparently, he doesn't work for you anymore. One of Adrian's men almost smiled. Adrian glanced toward him. The smile disappeared. Elena had no idea who she was talking to. She only knew the strange man standing in her rescue shop had arrived wearing a black coat worth more than her monthly rent, accompanied by 2 silent men, and carrying himself like everyone in the building belonged to him. She also knew his dog had been acting strangely ever since he arrived. Does Bruno normally do that? She asked. No. Then maybe you should stop looking at him like you're going to arrest him. Adrian looked at the dog. Bruno looked back. Then Bruno turned around and sat directly on Adrian's expensive shoe. Elena laughed. Adrian didn't. But something in his eyes almost softened. Almost. You knew Matteo? He asked again. Elena's smile disappeared. Not personally. But you said he gave you this. He did. Adrian stared at her. Elena sighed. Not exactly the way you're thinking. She took the collar from his hand. A man used to come here every few months. He helped pay veterinary bills for rescue animals. He never gave me his real name. And you never asked? He asked me not to. Adrian's fingers curled slowly. What did he look like? Elena studied him. Why? Because I need to know. She hesitated. Tall, dark hair, quiet. He had a scar near his left eyebrow. Adrian went completely still. Matteo, no doubt. Elena noticed. That was your brother, wasn't it? Adrian didn't answer. Instead, he looked around the shop. Photographs of rescued animals covered the walls. Old donation boxes sat beside bags of food. A teenage employee was cleaning a grooming table in the back. Nothing about the place looked connected to his world. Yet Matteo had been here, more than once. And somehow, he had left something behind. Something Adrian had never known existed. Bruno suddenly began pulling toward the back room. Elena followed him. Adrian watched. Where is he going? He does that when he's nervous. Bruno doesn't get nervous. Elena turned. You've said that twice. Because it's true. She crouched beside the dog. Then why is he shaking? Adrian's expression changed. Adrian's expression changed. He stepped closer. Bruno had lowered his head. His eyes remained fixed on an old wooden cabinet near the grooming station. Elena opened it. Inside were blankets, cleaning supplies, medicine, and a small metal box. She frowned. I've never seen this. Adrian reached for it. Elena stopped him. Wait. There was something written underneath. A name. Elena Brooks. Her face went pale. Adrian stared at the box. Open it. You first. His eyes met hers. For the first time, Elena saw something behind the cold control. Fear. Not fear for himself, fear of what he might find. She slowly unlocked the box. Inside was a photograph. Matteo stood beside Bruno. But that wasn't what made Adrian's blood run cold. On the back of the photograph was a handwritten sentence. Elena read it aloud. "If Adrian ever finds Elena, tell him the truth, before he makes the same mistake I did." Silence filled the shop. Adrian took the photograph. His brother's handwriting was unmistakable. He looked at Elena. She looked equally confused. "I've never met him," she whispered. Adrian's eyes narrowed. "Then why did Matteo leave your name behind?" Neither of them had an answer. But Bruno did. The enormous dog suddenly walked to Elena, rested his head against her knee, and refused to move. And Adrian Moretti realized something that frightened him more than any enemy ever had. His dead brother had known Elena Brooks. He had trusted her. And whatever secret Matteo had died protecting, Elena was already standing in the middle of it. Adrian did not sleep that night. The photograph lay on his desk beneath a single lamp. Matteo was smiling in it. That alone was strange. His brother had rarely smiled for photographs. But what Adrian couldn't stop thinking about was the handwriting on the back. "If Adrian ever finds Elena, tell him the truth before he makes the same mistake I did." What mistake? And why Elena? At 7:42 the next morning, Adrian was already outside Second Chance Pause. He had told himself he was there to ask questions. Bruno had other ideas. The moment the car door opened, the Cane Corso jumped out and pulled Adrian toward the shop. "Bruno." The dog kept walking. "Bruno." Nothing. Adrian looked at his security chief. "Apparently I'm no longer in charge." His man wisely said nothing. Inside, Elena was kneeling beside a frightened terrier. She looked up. "You're early. You're here before me." "I own the place." "Exactly." She raised an eyebrow. That sounded almost like a compliment. Adrian ignored it. Elena finished examining the dog before standing. "You came for answers." "Yes." "Then ask." Adrian placed the photograph on the counter. "Why didn't you tell me Matteo used to come here? I didn't know he was your brother. You recognized him yesterday." "I recognized the scar after you reacted." Adrian studied her face. She wasn't lying. "What did he do here?" "He helped." "How?" "He paid bills, bought medicine, sometimes donated food." "Anything else?" Elena hesitated. "He asked me to keep something safe." Adrian's expression hardened. "What?" "I don't know." "You just said he asked you to keep something safe." "I said I didn't know what it was." Elena walked toward the back room. Adrian followed. She stopped beside an old filing cabinet. "Matteo gave me a key." She pulled a tiny brass key from a drawer. "He told me that if someone named Adrian Moretti ever came looking for it, I should give it to him." Adrian stared at the key. "You've had this for years?" "About 18 months. Why didn't you contact me?" Elena's expression changed. "Because he specifically told me not to." Adrian went silent. Matteo had known exactly how his brother operated. He had probably expected Adrian to investigate, expected him to doubt, expected him to turn everything into a problem that needed controlling. "What did he tell you?" Elena looked toward Bruno. "He said you'd come eventually." Adrian's eyes narrowed. Adrian's eyes narrowed. "And?" "He said you wouldn't trust me." A humorless smile touched Adrian's mouth. "He knew me well." "He also said something else." "What?" Elena looked directly at him. "He said you would mistake protecting someone for controlling them." Adrian didn't respond. Because Matteo had said exactly that to him countless times when they were younger. Bruno suddenly barked. Both of them turned. The dog stood in front of the old cabinet. Elena frowned. "You're doing that again." She opened the cabinet. Nothing. Then Bruno pawed at the bottom panel. Adrian crouched. He tapped the wood. Hollow. He looked at Elena. Move. She stepped aside. Adrian removed the loose panel. Behind it was a thin envelope. Elena stared. I've never seen that. Adrian opened it carefully. Inside was a bank receipt, a photograph, and a list of names. The first few meant nothing to Elena. They meant everything to Adrian. They were names of companies connected to his family. His face went cold. These aren't charities. Elena looked over his shoulder. What are they? Shell companies. For what? Adrian didn't answer. He recognized 3. They had been closed after Matteo's death. Or at least, that's what he'd been told. He turned the page. At the bottom was a handwritten note. The money isn't disappearing. It's being redirected. Adrian's breathing slowed. Matteo hadn't been investigating strangers. He had been investigating their own family. Elena watched him carefully. Did your brother know? He knew enough to be afraid. And you didn't? Adrian folded the papers. No. A long silence followed. Then Elena asked the question he didn't want to hear. Who was he afraid of? Adrian looked at the list again. There were 12 names. 10 were connected to businesses. 1 belonged to a lawyer, and the final name belonged to someone Adrian had trusted his entire life. His father. Adrian closed the envelope. We're done. Elena frowned. You're leaving? Yes. You can't just take those. They belong to me. No. They belong to Matteo. Adrian stopped. Elena stepped closer. You came here looking for answers. Don't turn around and become the exact man your brother warned me about. His eyes met hers. Nobody spoke to Adrian Moretti that way. Nobody except Matteo. And now Elena. Adrian slowly placed the papers back on the counter. Fine. Elena nodded. Thank you. He turned toward the door, then stopped. Why does Bruno trust you? Elena smiled faintly. Maybe he knows something you don't. Adrian looked at the dog. Bruno was watching Elena. Then Adrian noticed something else. The dog's collar had a second tag hidden beneath the first. He reached for it. Elena stepped closer. What is that? Adrian turned the tag over. There was a date engraved on the back. A date from 3 months before Matteo died. Underneath it were 4 words. Ask her about the lake. Adrian looked at Elena. Her smile disappeared. She stepped backward. I know that date. Why? Elena swallowed. Because that's the day Matteo called me for the last time. Adrian froze. What did he say? Elena's eyes filled with uncertainty. He told me someone was following him. And then? He asked me to promise something. What? Elena looked at Bruno, then back at Adrian. He told me that if anything happened to him. She paused. I was never supposed to trust a Moretti. Adrian's face went completely still, because suddenly, the question wasn't why Matteo had trusted Elena. It was why Matteo had warned her against Adrian's entire family. You were never supposed to trust a Moretti. The words stayed between them. Adrian stared at Elena. Why? I don't know. You just told me Matteo said it. He did. Then you know why. Elena shook her head. He didn't explain. He only said that if he disappeared, I should keep the key hidden and never give it to anyone from your family. Adrian looked toward Bruno. The dog was sitting quietly beside Elena. For the first time, Adrian wondered whether Matteo had been protecting Elena from his family, or protecting his family from whatever Elena knew. Before he could ask another question, the front door opened. A woman stepped inside wearing a cream-colored coat, expensive heels, and the kind of confidence that came from never having to wonder whether she belonged somewhere. Adrian's expression changed. Vivian Hales smiled. Adrian. Then her eyes moved toward Elena. The smile became thinner. So this is her. Elena frowned. Have we met? No. Vivian removed her gloves. But I've heard quite a lot. Adrian stepped forward. Why are you here? I came to speak with you. You could have called. I did. You called 6 times. And you ignored me 6 times. Elena looked between them. Should I leave? No, Adrian said immediately. Vivian noticed. Her eyes narrowed. Of course not. Bruno suddenly walked over to Vivian. He sniffed her coat. Then he turned around and returned to Elena. Vivian stared after him. I see he has made his decision. He usually does, Elena replied. Vivian smiled. You're very comfortable around Adrian. Elena shrugged. He's been coming here every morning. For the dog? Elena glanced at Bruno. Mostly. Adrian looked at her. She smiled innocently. Vivian noticed that too. She walked closer. Do you know who Adrian is? Yes. Do you know what his family expects from him? Elena's expression cooled. No. Then perhaps you should. Adrian's voice sharpened. Vivian. She ignored him. Adrian isn't a man who can simply walk away from his family. I never asked him to. Vivian studied Elena. That isn't what I heard. Elena smiled. Then you heard wrong. For several seconds, Vivian said nothing. Then she leaned closer. Women like you often mistake attention for commitment. Elena's face remained calm. And women like you often mistake entitlement for affection. Adrian's eyes flickered. Vivian's smile disappeared. I can see why he's interested. Elena stepped back. Then you should probably ask him why. Vivian looked at Adrian. He didn't answer. That silence told her more than words could. She turned toward the door. Before leaving, she looked at Elena one last time. Enjoy it while it lasts. The door closed. Elena exhaled. She seems pleasant. Adrian almost smiled. She isn't. I noticed. He looked at her. Are you all right? Elena nodded. Yes. But she wasn't. Not entirely. Vivian had touched something Elena had spent years trying to forget. The feeling of being someone's private comfort but never their public choice. Adrian seemed to notice the change. What did she mean? Nothing. That's not true. Elena picked up a clipboard. I have work. Adrian didn't push. For once, he left without demanding an answer. That evening, Elena found a package outside her apartment. No name, no return address. Inside was an old photograph. She recognized the man immediately. Matteo. He was standing beside a lake. Beside him was Elena. She stared at the picture. Her hands began to shake. She didn't remember taking it. Then she noticed the date. The same date engraved on Bruno's collar. On the back, someone had written, "He trusted you because you didn't know who he was." Elena sat down. A memory surfaced. Not a complete one. A rainy afternoon. A man sitting across from her in a small cafe. A conversation about rescue animals. A warning. She remembered Matteo now. Not his name, not his family, but his face. And one sentence. If my brother ever comes looking for you, don't let him turn you into another secret. The next morning, Adrian returned. Elena was waiting. You remembered. He stopped. Remembered what? Your brother. Adrian's eyes narrowed. What happened? I met him. The words hit harder than Elena expected. When? At the lake. Adrian went still. What happened there? He asked me to keep something for him. The key? No. She reached beneath the counter. Then placed a small black flash drive in front of him. Adrian stared at it. Why didn't you give me this yesterday? Because I didn't remember having it. What's on it? I don't know. Adrian reached for it. Elena stopped his hand. If there's something on there that could destroy your family, what happens to me? Adrian looked directly at her. I won't let anything happen to you. That isn't an answer. He paused, then said quietly, You're right. It was the first time Elena had heard him admit uncertainty. Adrian took the drive. That night, he opened it. There were 11 files. 10 were financial records. The 11th was a video. Matteo appeared on the screen. He looked tired, afraid. Adrian, if you're watching this, Bruno found Elena. Adrian froze. Matteo continued. You're probably angry. Don't be. He looked directly into the camera. You'll think she knows everything. A pause. She doesn't. Adrian's eyes narrowed. That's why I trusted her. The video continued. I needed someone outside the family. Someone you couldn't control. Adrian's jaw tightened. Matteo lowered his voice. There is money being moved through our father's companies. Adrian stopped the video. His hand trembled. Their father. The man who had built the Moretti empire. The man Adrian had trusted more than anyone. Elena stood behind him. What did he say? Adrian looked at her. He was investigating my father. Silence. Then Elena asked, Does that mean Matteo died because of it? Adrian didn't answer. He didn't need to. Elena understood. The next morning, Adrian confronted his father. But before he entered the Moretti estate, his phone rang. Elena. He answered immediately. What's wrong? Her voice was shaking. Adrian, what happened? I think someone was inside the shop last night. Adrian's entire expression changed. Are you hurt? No. Lock the doors. I already did. I'm coming. He ended the call. Then he looked at his security chief. Forget my father. Boss? Someone just found out Elena has Matteo's files. And for the first time since Matteo died, Adrian Moretti wasn't afraid of what his family's secret could destroy. He was afraid of what it could do to the woman his brother had trusted first. Adrian's car had barely stopped outside Second Chance Pause when he was already out the door. The front window was cracked. One of the locks had been forced. Inside, overturned chairs and scattered papers covered the floor. Elena! No answer. Adrian's pulse dropped. He moved through the shop, checking every room. Then he heard something. A faint sound from the storage area. He pushed the door open. Elena was crouched behind a cabinet, holding Bruno's collar in one hand. She looked up. I told you I was fine. Adrian stared at her. You call this fine? Nobody touched me. That wasn't my question. She stood. For a second, neither spoke. Then Elena noticed the blood on Adrian's knuckles. You came here straight from somewhere. Yeah. Where? My father's house. Her expression changed. You confronted him? I was going to. Was? Adrian looked toward the broken window. Someone reached this place before I could. Elena's eyes moved to the empty spot beneath the counter. The drive. Adrian froze. What? The flash drive. She pointed. It was there. Adrian crossed the room. The drive was gone. His jaw tightened. They knew. Elena swallowed. Then Matteo was right. Adrian turned toward her. About what? That your family would come looking for it. A long silence followed. Then Bruno began growling. Not at Elena, not at Adrian. At the back door, Adrian immediately moved between Elena and the entrance. The door opened. Vivian stepped inside. Elena stared. You? Vivian looked around the damaged shop. I didn't do this. Adrian's voice became cold. Then why are you here? Because your father called me. Adrian's expression hardened. What did he want? Vivian hesitated. To warn you. About what? That Matteo wasn't investigating the family. She looked at Elena. He was trying to destroy it. Elena stepped forward. You knew? Vivian looked uncomfortable for the first time. I knew Matteo had found something. And you never told Adrian? I was trying to protect him. Adrian laughed once. There was no humor in it. Everyone keeps saying they're protecting me. His eyes locked onto Vivian. Yet somehow, I'm always the last person to know the truth. Vivian lowered her gaze. Your father told me Matteo was planning to expose the family. And? He said Matteo had help. Elena's face went pale. Me? Vivian nodded. He believed you were holding the evidence. Adrian looked at Elena. She shook her head. I didn't even know what I had. I believe you, Adrian said. Vivian looked at him. You shouldn't. Adrian's eyes hardened. Why? Because people don't destroy themselves for nothing. She stepped closer. Matteo knew what your father was capable of. He knew what would happen if those records became public. Adrian's voice dropped. What happened to Matteo? Vivian didn't answer. That was enough. Adrian turned away. For 11 months, he had believed his brother's death was connected to a rival family. A business dispute. A war. Something outside their walls. But the truth had been sitting inside the Moretti family all along. Elena quietly spoke. Matteo wasn't trying to destroy your family. Adrian looked at her. He was trying to stop it from becoming something worse. She reached into her coat pocket. I found this after they broke in. She handed him a small memory card. Adrian stared at it. Where? Inside Bruno's old travel bag. He looked at the dog. Bruno sat beside Elena, watching him. Adrian inserted the card into his phone. A single audio file appeared. He pressed play. Matteo's voice filled the room. If you're hearing this, Adrian, then you finally found Elena. Adrian closed his eyes. Matteo continued. I know what you'll think. You'll think she was part of it. Elena looked down. She wasn't. A pause. She was the only person outside our family I trusted. Adrian's breathing became heavier. Then Matteo said the words that changed everything. Father knows I found the accounts. Adrian's eyes opened. And if anything happens to me, he will blame Elena because she has the one thing he cannot control. The recording stopped. Silence. Vivian looked at Adrian. He knew. Adrian didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on Elena. She finally understood. The rescue shop. The donations. The key. The photographs. Bruno. None of it had been random. Matteo had spent years building a hidden path toward the truth, and Elena had unknowingly become the final piece. Adrian stepped toward her. You should leave the city. Elena immediately shook her head. No. Elena, no. He stopped. I am not running because your family decided I'm a problem. You don't understand what you're dealing with. I understand enough. She looked directly into his eyes. You keep telling everyone you're protecting me, Adrian. Her voice softened. But you're still trying to make decisions for me. He said nothing. Elena took a breath. I won't be another person you lock behind a wall. Something changed in Adrian's expression. For the first time, he understood what Matteo had meant. Protecting someone wasn't controlling where they stood. It was trusting them enough to stand beside you. Then the front door opened again. This time, several cameras flashed from outside. Reporters. Vivian looked toward the window. Oh no, a man shouted from the street. Adrian, is the woman inside involved in the Moretti investigation? Elena froze. Adrian looked at her. She looked back. Someone had leaked the story. By tomorrow morning, everyone would know her name. Vivian quietly said, Your father wants her destroyed before the evidence gets out. Adrian's face became unreadable. Then he stepped beside Elena. Not in front of her. Beside her. I won't hide you, he said. Elena looked at him. Then what will you do? Adrian looked toward the cameras. For once? He took her hand. I'll tell them the truth. But before they reached the door, Adrian's phone buzzed. One new message. No number, only a photograph. It showed Matteo standing beside their father, alive, and beneath it were 5 words. You still don't know who killed him. Adrian stared at the screen, then looked at Elena. The truth wasn't finished. It had only just begun. The photograph stayed on Adrian's phone all night. Matteo, alive, standing beside their father. And beneath the picture, those 5 words kept replaying in Adrian's mind. You still don't know who killed him. By sunrise, Adrian had made a decision. He wasn't going to hide Elena. He wasn't going to send her away. And he wasn't going to let his father's fear decide what happened next. When Adrian returned to Second Chance Pause, Elena was already there. The broken window had been covered. The scattered papers were gone. Bruno was lying beside the counter like nothing had happened. Elena looked up. You look terrible. I didn't sleep. Neither did I. Adrian placed his phone on the counter. She looked at the photograph. Is that Matteo? Yes. Then he was alive after the date everyone told you he died. Adrian nodded. My father lied to me. Elena was silent. Why? I don't know. For once, Adrian didn't pretend to have the answer. Elena studied him. You're different. How? You're not trying to tell me what to do. A faint smile appeared on his face. I'm learning. She looked at him for a moment. Slowly. Very slowly. Bruno suddenly lifted his head and walked between them. Elena laughed. He agrees. Adrian looked down at the dog. He's been against me from the beginning. Maybe he has good judgment. Adrian almost smiled. Then his expression became serious. I need you to come with me tonight. To where? A Moretti family event. Elena's smile disappeared. No. Adrian didn't argue. Instead, he asked, why? Because everyone there will look at me like I'm something you picked up from the street. They won't. You don't know that. I do. How? Because I've spent my entire life in that room. He stepped closer. And I'm tired of letting those people decide who belongs in it. Elena looked away. I don't want to be your scandal. You're not. Then what am I? Adrian was quiet. Then he answered honestly. The person I want beside me. That answer stayed with her. Hours later, Elena walked into the Moretti estate wearing a simple black dress. The room went silent. Dozens of powerful people turned toward her. Businessmen, politicians, family allies. And Vivian. Vivian stood beside Adrian's father. Her expression was unreadable. She approached Elena first. You actually came. Elena smiled. I was invited. By Adrian. By Adrian. Yes. Vivian glanced toward him. You should know what you're stepping into. I do. No, you don't. Vivian lowered her voice. Everyone in this room is watching you. Elena looked around. Then I suppose I should give them something worth watching. Vivian's expression tightened. Before she could respond, Adrian walked over. He didn't take Elena away. He simply stood beside her. Vivian looked at him. You're really doing this? Adrian's voice was calm. Yes. His father finally approached. Adrian. The room grew quieter. His father looked at Elena. So this is the woman Matteo trusted. Elena held his gaze. Yes. You understand that your presence here has consequences. Adrian stepped forward. She isn't responsible for your consequences. His father looked at him. You're embarrassing this family. No. Adrian's voice remained steady. You embarrassed it when you lied about Matteo. A wave of whispers moved through the room. Vivian looked shocked. Adrian continued. You told me my brother died because of a rival. His father said nothing. You let me spend 11 months believing that. Still nothing. Then Elena stepped forward. You should tell him the truth. Adrian looked at her. She wasn't asking him to protect her. She was asking him to face it. His father finally spoke. "You don't know what you're talking about." Elena shook her head. "No." She held up the memory card. But Matteo did. The room went silent. Adrian's father stared at the card. For the first time, fear appeared in his eyes. Vivian noticed. So did everyone else. Adrian understood immediately. That reaction was the confession they needed. His father turned toward the security guards. "Take them out." Nobody moved. Adrian looked around the room. "Anyone who works for me stays exactly where they are." The guards lowered their heads. His father realized he had lost control. Not because Adrian had threatened him, because people had finally stopped being afraid. Vivian slowly stepped away from him. "You knew," she whispered. Adrian's father didn't answer. Vivian looked at Adrian. "I thought I was protecting you. You were protecting the wrong person." She swallowed. "I was afraid. So was Matteo." Vivian looked down. Then she walked away. Adrian turned toward Elena. The room was still watching them. He could have made a speech. He could have announced their relationship. Instead, he simply held out his hand. Elena looked at it, then took it. Adrian looked at everyone in the room. "Elena isn't here because she belongs in my world." He paused. "My world changed because she entered it." Nobody spoke. Then Elena squeezed his hand, not because she needed him, because she chose him. Later that night, they returned to the rescue shop. The city was quiet. Bruno was asleep near the front door. Elena looked at Adrian. So this entire mess started because of him. Adrian looked at Bruno. At first. And now? He turned toward her. "Now I come because you're here." She smiled. "You're getting better." "At what?" "Being honest." Adrian stepped closer. "I've been honest with you." "No." She smiled. "You've been trying." He laughed quietly. It was the first time Elena had heard him laugh without restraint. Then Bruno opened one eye and gave a long, exhausted sigh. Elena laughed. Adrian shook his head. "Even now, he hates me." "He doesn't hate you." "He looks disappointed. He's probably wondering why it took you this long." Adrian looked at Elena, then at Bruno, then back at her. For years, Adrian had believed power meant controlling every room he entered. Matteo had believed power meant protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. Elena taught Adrian something neither of them had understood completely. Love was not possession. It wasn't control. It wasn't finding someone who fit perfectly into your world. It was having the courage to change that world for someone who never asked you to. And for the first time in his life, Adrian Moretti wasn't afraid of losing control, because he had finally found something worth choosing freely. Elena. And this time, he chose her where everyone could see.